So, the series finale to WandaVision aired recently, and perhaps unsurprisingly was every bit as polarizing as the series as a whole. Many felt unsatisfied, feeling there were tons of questions left unanswered, various avenues turning out to be dead ends, and, well, we'll get to him later. On the other hand, some attribute the disappointment fans felt to the weekly release schedule as such, promoting a rabid theorization culture. Between a captive lockdown audience and the magnetic Marvel fan attraction, I wouldn't be surprised if WandaVision turns out to be the most viewed television show of the year. And when you have an audience that large with enough time on their hands, you can't help but promote a culture where people overanalyze phrases like "Unleash Hell, Demon Spawn!" or look for the significance in what are ultimately red herrings. Many were convinced that WandaVision would introduce an entire multiverse of villains, radically changing the landscape of Marvel's cinematic universe. In my view, its finale does have a lasting effect, but not at the scale people thought that it would. However, I believe it's unfair to discount an entire portion of an audience's letdown down to people overanalyzing things. While that certainly had a part to play, WandaVision's finale had deeper problems than just overhyped expectations. I personally found the finale, while not bad, to be the least interesting chapter of the series, and not for any reason related to hype, instead because it was intrinsically doomed to be. WandaVision works best as a mystery, not as a laser-shooting spectacle. To address the elephant in the room, do I recommend you watch this show, or is it a complete waste of time? If you miraculously haven't been spoiled on any of its twists or its premise, then yes, by all means go right in. In my opinion, the show is excellent, peaking in its penultimate episode. Even with my mixed feelings in the finale, I still believe that overall, WandaVision is an intriguing show, the TV equivalent of a page-turner. Allow me to elaborate. Spoilers abound. Firstly, let's address the biggest point of contention in the series, Ralph Bohner. This character, as played by Evan Peters, was the most magnificently orchestrated red herring I have ever had the displeasure of falling for. To recap, Evan Peters' character was introduced as a recast of Wanda's twin brother Pietro, who died many movies ago in Avengers 2. Pietro, also known colloquially as Quicksilver, is a beloved character in the source material, and as such, people were positively delighted to see this reincarnation of the character. To add to the fervour, Evan Peters plays Quicksilver in the X-Men films, a series which previously had no crossover with the Marvel continuity. People heralded Evan Peters' cameo as the first of many crossovers with the X-Men and the introduction of an entire multiverse of characters. In actuality, his cameo turned out to be just that, a cameo. The Pietro of WandaVision was an imposter sent by the witch next door, Agatha Harkness, to acquire intel on Wanda. He starred in one episode and was neglected after that. He ended up having nothing to do with the X-Men continuity or any multiverse of characters. To compound fans' misery, Agatha referenced her husband Ralph on numerous occasions, leading many to believe that this mysterious Ralph was going to turn out to be the secret antagonist. How naive we were. Ralph was instead revealed to be the imposter masquerading as Evan Peters' Quicksilver. He wasn't Quicksilver, and Ralph wasn't a secret antagonist. And to heap an extra scoop of misery on top of that, the slow antagonizing build-up to Ralph's identity being revealed was cheapened as a Bohner sounds like boner joke. In all honesty, the writers played us all like fiddles, and despite how annoyed people may be, the troll in me can't help but respect the stones on the writing team for stringing us along for a boner joke. As such, I don't really find it fair to criticize WandaVision for what could have been instead of what was. While it was disappointing, the sheer audacity of the writing team makes up for it. The second biggest point of contention was the rumours of a high-profile cameo to come in the final episode. Both Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen hinted there would be an A-list cameo to come. There wasn't. Turns out Paul Bettany was just referencing himself. In the final episode, Bettany's character Vision fights with an alter ego played again by Bettany. Elizabeth Olsen's reference to an A-list cameo was misleading. The interviewer put the words in her mouth. She was asked specifically. Naturally, she answered yes, because she could hardly say no, but there is an Evan Peters caliber cameo. Fans blew these words out of proportion and hyped themselves up for a truly magnificent cameo that didn't materialise. At risk of sounding holier than thou, I wasn't really swept up in the hype. I didn't believe Bettany was telling the whole truth in his interview. The man is generally more reserved and was likely under an exceptionally strict non-disclosure agreement. As such, there was no way he was allowed to mention a high-profile cameo such as the one he alluded to, where Tom Holland, an actor notorious for not being able to keep his mouth shut,
well, it does have—
Yeah, spoilers!
to give such claims, I might have been more inclined to believe them. As it happened, I didn't, and I don't think it's fair to criticize WandaVision as a whole because it didn't fulfill a pipe dream. So what can you criticize WandaVision for? Not much, as it happens. I found every episode to be interesting, especially the penultimate episode. Each beat was laced with intrigue and mystery, and it was incredibly satisfying to have the writers slowly and carefully pull back the curtain. There was an air of oddness about the entire premise. It was eerie, creepy, and absolutely bizarre. The dialogue was also excellent, especially between the two headlining characters, Wanda and Vision. The characterization was truly magnificent. Each and every actor performed at their zenith, Catherine Hahn as Agatha being the standout. The pacing is sublime. Just when you start getting bored, the writers throw a curveball that has you at the edge of your seat. WandaVision is at its best when you don't fully understand what's going on. When the mystery is slowly unfolding, WandaVision is nothing short of a marvel. Its sense of atmosphere is second to none. Unfortunately, none of my praise is applicable to the final episode, as the curtain is fully pulled back in the episode's second to last. As I said, WandaVision is at its best when it's about the mystery of Wanda's Wonderland, and without that atmosphere, without that air of mystery, the final episode suffers. It certainly isn't bad, but in my opinion this episode is a little bloated. I would have rather had an extra long version of the second last episode than it be split up into two separate chapters released a week apart. I found Agatha's motivation to be lacking, and her master plan left a lot to be desired with regards to logic. Somewhat controversially, I just found that there was too much laser shooting and mindless punching, and there was a noticeable lack of tension, mystery, or atmosphere. That being said, however, the final 15 minutes or so are positively sublime. The dialogue is poignant and the acting is truly excellent, and the ending is satisfying and intriguing in equal measure. The choice for Wanda to end the series as the antagonist is one I wholeheartedly commend. The series was weakest when pinning Hayward or Agatha as dastardly villains. The choice to make Wanda the big bad of her own show was brave. As such, I felt the introduction of a white Vision to be entirely pointless. Likewise, the character of Hayward was wasted, and Agatha had frustratingly little to do but be a dummy for Wanda to fire lasers at. In its final episode, WandaVision was doing its best to be a roller coaster ride when the reason we all loved it was because it was a house of horrors. In conclusion, WandaVision is an A+ show with a pretty middle of the road finale. If they had just tagged the final 20 minutes or so of the finale onto the penultimate episode, I think it would have made for a better conclusion. The pacing was just a little off in the finale. That being said, despite its somewhat disappointing finale and its kind of hilarious red herrings, WandaVision is still a one-of-a-kind Marvel offering. In a series often criticized for being continuously cut from the same cloth, WandaVision is a breath of fresh air.